Joy English School!
Yo!
Today is June 2nd, and we are on pages 10 and 11 in your magazine. It's day 2 of the book club, and our book this month is called The Midnight Library.
没错，今天呢，我们还是要继续介绍我们好书俱乐部单元的这个午夜图书馆。我们昨天简单的讲了一下这个午夜图书馆里面的故事内容，还有这个作者，对不对？好，我们讲到说这个午夜图书馆呢，是这个里面作者 Nora Seed， 他在决定要这个了断自己生命之前到的一个地方，然后在这边会有很多很多的书，每一本都是他可能可以经历的这种不同的人生。那我们今天要介绍的主题呢，是关于这个作者这个 Matt Haig 他的故事。
All right, and with that, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, it's time for paragraph 1.
The Midnight Library.Matt Haig is known for his insightful books about family and the stresses of everyday life. He was born in Britain in 1975 and struggled for many years before becoming a successful author. In his earlier works, he focused on dark and quirky family stories. Over the years, Haig began to suffer from depression. His issues are reflected in many of his recent books, such as The Midnight Library, and Reasons to Stay Alive. In 2015, Haig released the nonfiction Reasons to Stay Alive, which is based on his experiences with anxiety disorder. The book, a kind of self-help guide, was Haig's way to cope with his problems and stay optimistic about life. It was also the book that made him famous. After its release, Reasons to Stay Alive established Haig as a mentor who offers advice on life's questions and struggles. He is happy that he can offer encouragement and peace of mind to his readers. For now, Haig is content with creative freedom as an author. He expects his books will continue bringing people joy and
hope.All right, friends, before we begin paragraph 1, I wanted to tell you the story of my Midnight Library. And this is a real place. It's in Buffalo, back home. And in college, I was a good student. I was a real nerd. And I like to study late. I like to do everything late at night, honestly. And I would study until about 12 o'clock when the library closed. And I would walk out of the library all the way to my car. And in December, about 20 years ago now, I was walking by myself. It was very cold, and a car pulls up next to me after I leave the library, and very close, just like Antony and I, that close.
Wow.
And I thought this was my friend my friend saw me, and so I slap on his window, and I'm like, hey! And the window rolls down, and a big gun comes out.
Wow.
Yes.
What?
So I start to run, but it's December in Buffalo. That means there's snow everywhere. And if you know snow, it's not easy to run in it. And there are some places, 特别就是操场, right? In parking lots, 车场. And you can't climb over those easily. And so I was stuck. And this man comes out with his gun, and he walks up to me really closely. And he says, give me your wallet. And he takes my money, he takes my credit cards, and he reads my ID, and he says, Chris Gorski, and he reads my address, like 123 Sesame Street. He says, I know where you live. Give me your passwords. And so I give him my passwords, and he loads his gun, and he says, tell me your passwords. And I'm really scared. I am about to die. I tell him my passwords, and he turns around, and he walks away really slowly, and he drives away really slowly. And I stand there frozen like a piece of ice. And then I go crazy screaming. And that was my Midnight Library, because if I wanted to be very brave, or if he was really angry, he just goes like this, pulls his finger, and I die. That's the end of my story. So my Midnight Library was a place where I got lucky. I could see more books in my life, because that was a very scary moment in my life. And when I read this title, when I saw The Midnight Library, I thought of my days in college when that man had that big gun.
Oh my goodness！ 天哪，好恐怖的故事哦！老师刚刚提到的东西，真的，中间我不敢打断他去翻译。 老师提到说，当初在20年前的时候，当时他还是个书呆子，他在大学念完了，就是很多时候他常常在大学的那个图书馆里面念到很晚，到12点。有一天他12点出来，他准备到那个车子前面的时候，有一辆车停得离他很近，就像我跟他坐的这么近，
那么近，
就他以为说是朋友看到他，跟他打招呼，他就去拍他的车门，然后这个车窗摇下来之后，发现到有把枪对着他，他整个人傻了，他很努力的去逃，可是在雪地里面，12月的 Buffalo 水牛城其实事实上是很难逃的。然后在这个过程当中呢，他一直躲到后面没有办法，他困住了。后来那个人就拿着这个枪跟他讲说，把钱包拿出来。钱包拿出来之后呢，一看钱拿走了，信用卡拿走了。他说密码是什么？给我。然后老师还第一时间傻了，还没有回答，他就
我有告诉他，
你有告诉他，
他要确定，我没有骗他。
然后他就把这个枪这样咔咔，然后已经上膛了。他说你再给我讲一次，你说的是真的吗？
1 2 3 4
然后他还拿了他的那个，他就拿出他的这个证件说，好，把他名字啊什么都念一遍，然后地址啊，老师刚刚开玩笑讲是1 2 3 4芝麻街，反正重点是把地址都念了一遍之后，然后最后他说好，他就走了，慢慢就离开了。老师还好，当初那个时候决定说好，统统告诉他，如果当时他要逞英雄的话，也许他就看不到明天太阳，也没办法读这些书，也没有机会在这个地方。对老师来说，那就是他的午夜图书馆，好惊悚啊
Yeah, sorry, that was a long story, but I wanted to share it. Let's go to paragraph 1. Matt Haig is known for his insightful books about family and the stresses of everyday life.
好，我们来看第一段的第一句话哦，他说Matt Haig， 好，我们的作者呢 is known for 他最擅长、最闻名的地方就是 for his insightful books， 好，他的书里面有非常非常多很精辟的一些见解 about family and the stresses of everyday life， 关于家庭的啦，或是关于每日常生活当中的一些各种诸多的压力等等。
So stresses is plural here, but it also can be uncountable.And the stress of everyday life 也可以。Next sentence, he was born in Britain in 1975 and struggled for many years before becoming a successful author.
好，第二句话就告诉你说 he was born in Britain， 他原来是出生于英国，好像是1975年生的。And struggled for many years before becoming a successful author. 在变成成功的作家之前呢，其实呢，他也是努力挣扎了好一阵子，好多年。
In his earlier works, he focused on dark and quirky family stories.
好 ，in his early works， 这个 work 接着加 s 之后，指的就是作品哦。在他早期的这些写作的作品里面呢 ，he focused on dark and quirky family stories。好，这个地方我觉得很想讲一下。Dark 大家知道是比较黑暗的，但是 quirky 的话，给我的感觉就是 quirky, strange but interesting.
Yeah, I wrote strange but fun.
哇
So there we go.
没错，就是那种有点怪怪，但是有点好玩的那种怪。好，用 quirky 这个字还蛮棒的哈。Quirky family story 就是跟这种家庭趣闻有关系，怪异但是有趣的这种故事。
All right, very quickly, circle the S in works. You know work is usually uncountable, but some art needs a long time to finish. If you have some art that needs a very long time to finish, like a book or some paintings, we can call that works. It can become plural.
没错，所以这边要特别注意一下，如果是变这种比较大的这种作品，像是文学作品啊、艺术作品啊，这个 work 本身就变成可数的。平常的时候 work 是不可数的哦，但是作品的时候它是可数，可以加 s。
All right, let's take a quick break and come back with paragraph 2. Okay, friends, we're back with day 2 of the Midnight Library. We're on pages 10 and 11. Let's start paragraph 2.Over the years, Haig began to suffer from depression.
他这边的话，我们第二段的第一句话就说，多年以来呢 ，Haig began to suffer from depression， 他就饱受这种忧郁症之苦哦。
Okay, so suffer, 有短语, we can write that down. He began to have depression, that's okay. Suffer 比较好 from depression, 看那个 SS.I don't say depression, I say depression. So SS 下面 please write SH.
没错，这个地方的话特别注意一下 depression 那个 shen 的发音是 SH 的发音哦。
Let's continue his issues. 这个 SS 也发 SH. His issues are reflected in many of his recent books, such as like The Midnight Library, and Reasons to Stay Alive.
好，接下来他告诉你说 ，his issues， 他所遭遇到这些议题呢 ，are reflected in many of his recent books。好，也是在很多他最近的这些书籍所反映出来了 ，such as the Midnight Library， 就是我们今天所讲的午夜图书馆，还有呢 ，Reasons to Stay Alive， 就是活着的理由。这两本书里面都有反映出他饱受忧郁症之苦的这个现象。
Reasons, Leo, is a really useful word. Students, make sure you know that one. Let's continue. In 2015, Haig released the nonfiction Reasons to Stay Alive, which is based on his experiences with anxiety disorder.
好，我们来看下一句话。In 2015， 在2015年的时候 ，Haig released， 好，他出版了，好 ，the nonfiction， 这个 nonfiction 就可以翻译成非小说或是写实小说。这个小说的名称就叫做 Reasons to Stay Alive， 活着的理由。然后逗号，因为它是一个这个专有名词嘛，所以今天要逗号再加上 which is based on his experiences with anxiety disorder。这个呢，它这个小说它的内容本身是以他自己的经验为出发点的。好，然后他 with anxiety disorder 就是他自己碰到这种焦虑症这种情况，他所经历的一些事情。
Do you know anyone with anxiety disorder?
Yeah,
you do.
Yes,
and
I
how
do.
Do you listen to them a lot, or like how do you deal with it?
I listen to them telling their stories, and basically I just listen to them without giving any comments or I just be a listener, only a listener.
That's what I try to do too. Someone close to me, not in my family, has anxiety disorder, and it's interesting because before this person, I didn't know anybody with anxiety disorder. He explained it as feeling like very nervous all the time and having a lot of panic, like things are going to go terrible. And a lot of times he just wants to talk about it. And he always says, I'm so confident, I'm so cool. How do I have that feeling? And I said, I don't know, but it's okay. I'm here to just listen to you if you want to talk. And he asked me for advice. I probably should just be like you and not offer advice, but he asked me what I do. He specifically says, in this situation, what do you do? So I tell him, but I tell him, it's funny, I tell him everybody loves him. He is the most liked person I know. But the only person that doesn't love him is himself. It's like everybody loves this guy except him. Yeah, so, yeah. I wonder what's the right thing to do with anxiety disorder. I'm not a doctor. I'm an English teacher. So I'm happy to listen to him, but I know I'm not really helping him. I tell him, you're probably better off in therapy than you are with me. But, I'm happy to listen to him.
没错，老师刚刚问我说，你身边有没有什么有碰到这种焦虑症的人呢？刚好有的话，那他们如果来跟你分享的时候，你是怎么做呢？我说有，那我呢通常只是当一个很好的聆听者，我不会给任何的意见，说我顶多会最后讲说 Thank you for sharing that with me， 好，谢谢你跟我讲这些事情，去同理他。那老师他也提到说，他有一个朋友，他直接就是问他说，你会怎么做？其实很有趣的事情是，老师发现到说，跟他分享这种内在焦虑的人，他其实是个万人迷，大家都很喜欢他，唯一不爱他的人，
Everybody likes this guy.
唯一不爱他的人就是他自己。然后就发现到说，其实老师他也提到说，他其实好像觉得也不知道该给什么建议，因为事实上他又不是医生，他只是英文老师。如果说真的是碰到这种情况下，聆听，然后呢，可能也许可以劝他说，不妨可以去跟心理咨商啊，去分享一下，看看能不能解决自己现在内在的问题。
Yeah, I hope Taiwanese are more comfortable with talking to doctors about their mental health issues in the future. I think Americans are getting better at it, and I think Taiwanese can also practice this too. I think we're not fair to people with mental disorders. If you break your leg, what do?
No, go to the doctor.
You go to the doctor. If
right?
you have a mental illness, a lot of people hey, be tough. Don't be confident, stupid. Like I think it's kind of like that. If your tooth hurts, you go to the dentist. If you break your leg, you go to the doctor. If you have a mental health issue, go to the doctor.
That's right.
It's okay. Yeah, that's right. That's how I feel.
没错。
All right. The book, a kind of self-help guide, was Haig's way to cope with his problems and stay optimistic about his life.
好，在这边的话，我们来看一下这句话。他说 ，The book 这本书呢。A kind of self-help guide， 有点像这种自我成长的这种书籍 ，was Haig's way to cope with his problems， 刚好也是他自己去处理他自己问题的一种做法 and stay optimistic about life， 而且也是他这种能够保持对生命充满乐观热情的那种方式。这边的话特别注意一下 cope with his problems。我们昨天好像有提到这个 dealing with， right？ B is dealing with mental illness。我们昨天有提到这个 cope with 的话，其实也是常常碰到，就是如果你后面接一个是问题的话，你可以说 deal with the problem or cope with the problem， 都是试图去解决这个问题。有的时候你还会看到这种说法的 a way of coping。就是去面对这种问题的处理方式，所以这个 cope with 的话要特别记下来哦。
Don't forget coping 那个意是无声音的，所以要去意再加 ing， 因为那个意是无声音的。We can also cope with any other problems in our life, not just mental disabilities or mental illness. We can cope with that broken leg I was just talking about. So if you have a broken leg, you need to change the way you do things so you can still be successful in your life. You cope with that problem. You deal with that problem.
没错。
Let's continue. It was also the book that made him famous. That book is Reasons to Stay Alive.
这个地方呢，他提到的是这个活着的理由。It was also the book， 也就是这本书呢 that made him famous， 让他一战成名。
I wonder how he feels about that because the book that made him famous, the book that made him well known is a book about him dealing with his anxiety disorder, and it's talking about reasons to stay alive. Why I shouldn't commit suicide, why I shouldn't end my life, why I shouldn't kill myself. That's a very difficult thing to become famous for.
没错，所以在这边的话，其实不晓得这个作者在对于他自己在提到说为什么要分享他自己这种比较可能有人会觉得比较不堪，或者觉得说要这种比较黑暗的主题，然后对于因为这样然后成名了，他对这个事情不晓得会有什么看法呢？
Okay, let's take a break here, and when we come back, we have our final paragraph. Hey everyone, welcome back to Enjoy English School. We're on our final paragraph, and we're on pages 10 and 11. Let's begin. After its release, Reasons to Stay Alive established Haig as a mentor who offers advice on life's questions and struggles.
好，我们来看这一段的第一句话哦。After its release， 好，在这个出版之后呢，它这边的 its 指的是 Reasons to Stay Alive 这本书出版之后 ，Reasons to Stay Alive established Haig as a mentor, or some people say mentor 都可以 who offers advice on life's questions and struggles. 好，这句话就讲说，好，在这本书出版之后，这个《活着的理由》这本书呢，也奠定了那个 Matt Haig 这个作者成为了大家心中的那种精神导师一样的。然后这个精神导师 who offers advice on life's questions and struggles 会给予你很多在生命当中的一些问题，还有挣扎，给予一些建议。
Mentor is a very nice word. Like Anthony said, you can also say mentor. And this is like a teacher, a coach, or a leader who doesn't just help you in your job. Most of you, your job is a student, right? So a teacher will teach you things. But sometimes your teacher and coach will help you outside of the classroom. Hey, teacher, I have this problem. It's not about school. What do you think? And usually you have to feel very safe telling this person your feelings, your thoughts, what you're afraid of. And that's a very important job. I definitely make myself available to mentor students if they need help. But yeah, it's not for everybody because some people, you have to listen and accept people's problems. I think Haig, by writing this book, has to open himself, show his problems, and other people feel safe saying, I also have these problems.
没错，所以精神导师老师刚刚就提到说，其实本身是帮助人在他们的专业或是这个工作之外，在人生上面其他方面都给予协助。本身这样的人的特质就是要非常非常的愿意聆听，然后自己本身能够建立别人对他的这种信任感跟安全感。所以你看，今天我们看到这个 Matt Haig， 他讲到他自己面对焦虑症的这种问题，然后讲出来之后，大家发现到其他有同样问题的人也很愿意的去跟他分享他们自己各自碰到的问题。
Anthony was my mentor at this job. Like when I first started, Anthony really, like when I didn't know what I was doing, like this guy would just like, I would like read a sentence. 然后另外一个都不要show ，Anthony like 看我 就开始这样，这里嘛。And he is so patient and so friendly, and so I have to thank my mentor here and enjoy.
I'm so honored. Yeah.
Because without him, I don't have a job.
这讲得太超过了。
All right. He is happy that he can offer encouragement and peace of mind to his readers.
好，再来我们看这句话说，我们的作者呢 ，He is happy that he can offer encouragement and peace of mind to his readers. 他很高兴能够给予他的这些读者们，好非常非常多的鼓励，还有带给他们内心的平静。
For now, Haig is content. He's satisfied or happy with creative freedom as an author.
好，接下来说 For now 呢，目前呢 Haig is content 这个字的话，特别注意一下，如果当形容词的时候，它会念成 content。好，重音再放在后面 tent 的地方。有的时候你会听到这个字念成 content。content 的时候就变名词，就是内容的意思。那你说 Haig is content, that means satisfied or happy with creative freedom as an author. 他现在很高兴能拥有，身为作者，他有他自己创作的非常多的这种自由。
When we talk about making videos for YouTube, we talk about creating content. That's usually the way most students are familiar with it. You create content for TikTok or create content for YouTube or Instagram. It means making and producing things. Let's continue here. He expects his books will continue bringing people joy and hope.
好，接下来就说了 He expects 好，就是他期望 his books will continue bring people joy and hope. 他所写的书呢，能够继续给人们带来什么 joy 欢乐 and hope 还有希望。
That's right. Both of these are nouns. So if you want to say happy here, you need to make it a noun. Happiness, Happiness. So they bring people happiness, joy, and hope. With that, we finished our story. So let's take a quick break and get ready for vocab review. Okay, friends, it's time for vocab review, and our first phrase is to be known for something.
To be known for something 就是以什么而知名而闻名的意思。
Number 2, depression.
Depression 就是指忧郁症，或者呢，有的时候是指经济上的这种萧条，好，或是那种萧条的情况，也是可以要看上下文才决定。
Maybe it's the economy. Number 3, nonfiction.
Non-fiction 可以翻译成非小说或是写实小说。
Non-N-O-N 有那个短 O 小心。Number 4, a disorder.
Disorder 就是失调的意思 ，anxiety disorder 就是焦虑症。
Number 5 is to cope with somebody, to cope with something.
To cope with something 就是指去处理，往往后面接的东西是比较费力的要处理的问题啊，这种情况。
I'm sorry. Or we could say to deal with something.
To deal with something 也可以。
Number 6, optimistic.
Optimistic 它是一个形容词 we often say be optimistic about something.
And the opposite, 相反 is
Pessimistic.
Why did I forget that? How did you know I forgot? Pessimistic.
Yes, 它的拼法是 P-E-S-S-I， 然后后面的 mystic 跟这边的一样，也是 M-I-S-T-I-C， 就把前面的 opt 换成 P-E-S-S-I 就可以了。
Optimistic, pessimistic. Thank you, teacher. Number 7, to establish.
To establish 就是奠定基础的意思。
And lastly, number 8, this is the adjective, content.
Content 就是指满足，满足于 be content。注意重音的位置哦。
All right, and with that, we are done with day 2 of our book club story for Enjoy English School. I'm Chris Korsky.
I'm Antony.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.